a very active diaspora of Indian people who are living outside the country. This has been a strength for a lot of development in India. It is a tough place to deal with the government. It has a highly mobile labor force, which means that it's getting harder and harder to hire the best people and keep them. And venture capital is still relatively recent to India. More entrepreneurs, though, are looking at the bottom of the pyramid. The 80% of the people in the world who don't fit into the middle class definition, who really need help with new products in rural areas, new services in rural areas. I saw some really interesting things in India this summer. I went by Madras, I went by Delhi, and I also went by Mumbai. And I was fascinated to see the product development groups doing things like ATM machines for rural areas, right? Solar-powered water heaters. You know, there's a lot of things happening. Since terrorism has resurfaced in India, it made a lot of news this past autumn, but the day before I arrived was when the bicycle bombs went off in several places. So terrorism has resurfaced. I'm curious to see what this is going to do to the business community. I would like to find out from you, because I don't really know. I can't really see any huge change. I'm just curious what the mood is now. Outsourcing business has intrinsically low profit margins. That's a tough thing that I've heard many Indian business people tell me that they don't like doing 80% of the work for only 20% of the profit. While the big company in the US or Europe that asks them to do the outsourcing because labor costs are low, is getting large profit margins. So I think this is not as popular. The venture investment shift away from information technology and toward industry and energy and utilities. Energy and utilities are domestic market functions, right? Look what happened between 2007 and 2008. The amount of venture capital barely went up, but it went up a little bit between 2007 and 2008. What really went up was business and financial services. And what really went down was information technology. These are venture capital investments in these particular sectors. Energy and utilities went up, but it's still a young emerging area. But you're seeing a shift. I think there's a similar shift in India and in China. In China, toward domestic consumption, in India, toward domestic infrastructure development. The tigers are really the ones that are hurt with the breakdown of the global supply chain. Taiwan, how many people from Taiwan live in the mainland now? More than 1 million or less than 1 million? I mean, it's at least 800,000 out of a population of 22 million. And the exports to China went up by about 100% in the last 4 years, while the exports to the rest of the world kind of, went up by 10 or 20%. So you see this continuing integration with the mainland. Singapore, banking on biotech, there's a lot of money floating around from the Singapore government in regard to biotech investments. And Singapore has done this a number of times in the past with optical networks and other kinds of technologies. We'll see. It's an exciting place to do business. Korea, the Asia financial crisis of 1997 led the Korean government to try to break some of the power of the big companies, the chaebol. And they were intentionally trying to build up entrepreneurship as a rapid means of economic recovery. The government's had trouble in Korea since then. And as a result, I think that the big companies are kind of gathering their strength and maybe squeezing out some startups more than they used to be. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't mean to say there's no opportunities for startups in Korea, but I do think it's a more difficult environment than it was a few years ago. Back when Tehran Hill was, a street almost like Silicon Valley in terms of just, a really active, robust place for developing lots of new things. Tell me, if you've been in Korea or you're from Korea, I'd be very happy to listen to alternative points of view. Hong Kong, I was there in January. It's a financial center and it really wants to focus on innovation. A lot of Hong Kong economic growth had been people in Hong Kong running small factories in southern China, the Pearl River Delta area. Those are not doing well. Those have had a lot of people, thousands, maybe 10,000 people laid off. The manufacturing is just kind of falling apart because a lot of them were export-based. And so Hong Kong really took a hit with that. They're trying to focus on innovation now. And the government is doing a big project on studying the innovation system in Hong Kong. And we'll see, but my guess is it'll take a few years for real change to happen. So that's the snapshots. In general, what does this crash do for entrepreneurship? It changes the type of opportunities you have. It also changes the reasons why you may become an entrepreneur. I can't tell you, I gave a similar version of this talk in a public forum this past week, and I happen to know how a number of the people that we're visiting are exactly entrepreneurs of necessity now because they just got laid off. And so you're seeing more people moving into entrepreneurship for various reasons. It is harder to get capital, money to start your business with, but it's never been easy to get capital. The reason it's harder now is because people want their current investments to succeed. It's taking them longer to get to market. So A, they're funneling money, more money into their current investments, and B, they're putting their time in managing their current investments. To talk to somebody about something new is really hard to get their attention unless you really have something that might have a rather quick turnaround. But there are new kinds of opportunities that are coming. Commodity prices are also falling. As people focus more on domestic consumption, as people focus more on domestic infrastructure in India, there may be all kinds of things for entrepreneurs to do. Look around. When you see something frustrating in your daily life, there may be a business opportunity there. That's the best place to look for something to do as an entrepreneur, is something that really bugs you. Because that, if it's bugging you, it's probably bugging other people too. And if you see a new solution, a new way around this, then you're in a very good situation. Also pay attention where the government's throwing its money. You know, if you can get some money out of energy or environment or clean tech, that's not a bad thing either. But I think the point is that you need to study now on how to be effective as an entrepreneur. Then decide when to become an entrepreneur based on the business opportunities that you can see. Either those you create, those you find, or those that are brought to you, whatever is available. People have asked me a lot, should I become an entrepreneur now, or should I go work for a big company and get experience first and then be an entrepreneur? The answer is, what kind of opportunity do you have? If you see an opportunity that must be developed now, if you don't do it, somebody else will, you've got a good opportunity to make this happen now, go for it. But that's the opportunity talking, not you. What you need to do now is study the factors that it takes to be effective when you do change your own path in order to change the world. And it'll be a great week. I think that I've seen ASES develop over the last years. The summit has developed over the years from something that used to be a lot of people like me talking to you, to things that are much more interactive, things where you're doing your own kind of business pitching, things where you're forming teams. It's a very interactive program. I think it's a great agenda. I think they've done a great job planning it. And I think maybe the most important thing is the human network. I consider it a real honor to have known people in ASES now that I actually invite to come speak in my seminars as distinguished guest speakers in Stanford. So, you know, the people who are involved in ASES in the early days, one of them was basically the assistant to the chairman of what is now Staples China. It was OA 365.